Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you very much for stopping by and saying hello. I do appreciate it. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor though, and that is to, if you are new to this channel, to not watch the rest of this video. I know, not something you typically hear from someone who's posting videos on YouTube, but please do not watch this video. Go back and watch other videos of mine that talk about maybe getting a job as a flight attendant, what it's like to be a flight attendant, pluses and minuses of being a flight attendant. This video is purely a rant, and not what I want you to walk away thinking, oh, that Steven's a jerk. All right, so if you're still watching, why am I upset? A little background. If you're interested in aviation at all, you know that there was just a horrific accident with Southwest. One of the engines blew up in flight. A piece of that engine apparently hit a window, breaking the window, causing a depressurization. And one of the guests who was seated by the window, maybe she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. We asked them to, but sometimes they don't. She was pulled partially out of the aircraft. I can only imagine it was her upper body that was pulled out because she was sitting by the window. She died, apparently, of her injuries. And I personally can't imagine a worse possible horrifying thing. I just can't imagine it. My only prayer is that she was unconscious immediately. That's my only prayer, is that she was unconscious. That it happened at all is just horrifying. And it's such a freak accident. It's such a safe aircraft, the 737, I think. And you know, this is the thing that phobic people, fearful flyers, first-time flyers are afraid of happening, you know, and it just doesn't happen. The people at the National Transportation Bureau or Safety Bureau, whatever it's called, I can't even think. They're even saying this is something that's so weird. I mean, it just shouldn't happen. And the reason I'm upset is not that it happened, and I'm sad and I'm horrified that it did happen, but this thing that I feel personally is, I'm just so upset that some of the reactions, some of the things I'm hearing of what people who want to be a flight attendant are saying, particularly on Facebook, or in the comment section of some of these news articles, and what some flight attendants are actually saying, or the observations and comments that they're making. The first one, the one that just inspired this rant, is on Facebook. It's this kid. I won't even give him a name. He wrote that this was the act of natural selection. Natural selection, that someone should be pulled bodily out of an aircraft at 32,000 feet and to die one of the most horrific possible deaths ever. And he's making a joke that after his comment, he inserted two emojis, those little laughing until you cry emojis with the tears coming out. Yeah, I wrote a comment that was less than charming about this comment being thoughtless, childish, ignorant. He came back with a couple words, and I came back with a couple words, and I'm gonna stop responding to that thread because it can't help. I'm so upset that there are people out there who want to be a flight attendant, and they'll say things like, oh, I love people, but they make jokes like, oh, it's natural selection that someone should die like that because they weren't wearing their seatbelt. I want to punch a wall. I want to break something. I'm so upset about that one comment. And that there are 4 people at that point, I stopped looking at it. There were 4 people at that point who had liked that comment. One of them being a Facebook friend of mine. She's a flight attendant. I almost said her name. She's a flight attendant, and she liked that comment. And I'm pretty horrified. I'm pretty horrified by the whole thing. The other part that I'm upset about is that there's photos around Facebook flowing up and down, everyone's sharing it, of people on board that took, it was one passenger took a photograph of everyone with their oxygen masks on. And in almost every case, they're all wearing them over their mouths only and not their nose and their mouth. Now, if you've flown or if you've given a safety demonstration, you know that we tell them to put the mask over their nose and mouth and tighten with the elastic straps on the side. Well, flight attendants are saying, what do they expect? What idiots? They're not wearing their safety mask like we tell them to. They never pay attention to us. All right. I'm so upset about this at so many levels. The ego, first, to write something like that about such a horrifying incident. The people on that aircraft thought they were going to die. I promise you, they weren't thinking, what did that flight attendant tell me to do with that mask? Let me see. They weren't. Let me tell you a short story. You know me and short stories, right? They're always long. So back in 2007, August 11th, 2007, I'm walking home. I'm in Jamaica Plain, just outside of Boston, and I'm mugged. I feel someone punch me in the side of the chest. That punch was really the hilt of a knife, like in Psycho, a carving knife. The hilt of the knife had hit my ribs. The knife had gone through my ribs. It had gone through my lung. It had sliced my diaphragm in half. It went across the top of my spleen. I kept my spleen. I didn't know how important the spleen was until this. It went all the way into my body. A carving knife, all the way into my body. He got my wallet. He got my bag. He ran away. In my shock, in my horror, I thought I was going to die. I almost died. All right. I'm running to the street, holding my side, feeling blood pouring out of my body, pumping out of my body, super hot up here, and then freezing cold as it ran down my legs. I'm running to the street, trying to find help. A car pulls up. I say, please help me, I've been stabbed. The car rolls his window down. He takes off. Well, I go over, I stumble over to a door of a house right there with a light on, and I hit the door as hard as I could, which at that point wasn't very strong. Thankfully, someone was brave enough to open that door and find out what was going on. They called 911. I was rushed to the emergency room. They cut my clothes off of me. In my pocket was my cell phone. As I was describing that whole story of me being stabbed in the chest by a carving knife in a mugging, did you once stop in that description only and think, gee, when did he call 911? No, you didn't. You were just only listening to that story. Never mind thinking ahead, gee, what's the next common sense thing to call 911? I had a cell phone in my pocket. It was a flip phone Razor. It was 2007. I didn't think to call 911. I thought to run and find help. The human conscious changes in a situation where it's life or death. When this aircraft depressurized and those oxygen masks came down all around people, they're screaming, they're upset, they think they're gonna die. They grab the mask and they put it on any way they possibly can. I'm impressed that they even got the darn masks on their face and that any flight attendant has the guts, I almost said balls, and the ego to think, geez, don't they even pay attention to me when they're giving a safety demo? How dare you? Really? When your life is in absolute risk of dying, when you think you're going to die and that something happens and you're supposed to do something and you don't, I'm going to ask you afterwards, why didn't you do the next right thing? You were trying to save your life at any way possible. You weren't thinking clearly. So you can hear my anger. Any flight attendant who thinks that a passenger is going to follow any common sense in an emergency situation is either ignorant or lying to themselves, or they just don't know any better, and that's a different thing. If you've never been in a life or death situation, you don't know what it's like. And so you can have all the judgments you want. But please, remember, in the future, if you have a life or death situation, remember afterwards, I told you so. Be kind, be patient, be loving to people. And if you see someone in a situation like this and they're covering their mouth only with an air mask, maybe illustrate how to put it on. Wave at them. I don't know what, but don't make fun of them on Facebook afterwards for putting on a face mask the wrong way. Can you tell how mad I am? I'm so mad. All right. So my rant is done and I do feel better. So I don't know if I'm going to even post this up on YouTube or not. If I do, I kind of apologize. But I think things like this need to be said. There's so many flight attendants that I meet who are just either apathetic about their guests and their passengers, really. There are flight attendants who say things like, and they mean it, I interact with them as little as possible. You know, I mean, though, if you feel that you want to interact with passengers as little as possible, if you thought that the joke about natural selection was funny, if you were making fun of or making jokes about passengers who couldn't follow directions from a safety demonstration, if you're any of those types of people, please do me a favor. If you're not currently a flight attendant, go get a job at a library. Go become a teacher. Go become, maybe, God, not a teacher. Go find some other career path that doesn't involve taking care of people, because if you just don't genuinely love people and wish for their well-being, do something other than becoming a flight attendant. Really, I don't want to fly with you. I'm mad. Can you tell? All right, so that's off of my chest. Again, if I post this and you didn't like it, tough. You know what? Give it a thumbs down. That's fine. I can't imagine you giving it a thumbs up. All right, I'll talk to you later. You know, I typically end my videos with fly safe. Buckle up. That's what I'll say. All right. I'll talk to you later.